If you want an adventure, you could climb a mountain! Or ride dune buggies through the desert! Or you could just head to your neighborhood Zaxby's. Introducing the Smokehouse Cheddar Barbecue and Southwest Chipotle Filet Sandwich Meals. They're brand new and they'll take your taste buds to wild and exciting new places. Both feature our famous hand-breaded chicken, and they're both available for a limited time. Only at your neighborhood Zaxby's. And don't miss Jumanji: The Next Level, only in theaters.
From Tally to Cali.
It's time
to wake up.
Wake up, wake up. Warchant.com is your ultimate Seminole sports source.
And this is Wake Up Warchant, presented by Zaxby's.
Now here's Warchant.com's Azan Hajavandi
and Corey Clark.
Wake up! What up, everybody? It is Wake Up Warchant, proudly presented by Zaxby's. I'm Azan Hajavandi. Corey Clark here as well via the internet. We're two employees, just two dudes who work for a website called Warchant.com. Check it out if you don't already know, which I'm sure 99.9% of you don't, or do. I don't know. Use a promo code SAVE50FSU. It's still going on. 50% off an annual membership for new subscribers. And you know how I know we are indeed the ultimate Seminole sports source, Corey Clark?
Is that a question? Is that rhetorical?
A little bit, but I'll answer it. Okay,
all right, good.
So Florida State's going to be playing in the Tony the Tiger Sun Bowl in El Paso, Texas. And Ira's going to go.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to go as well. The team arrives December 26th. The game is December 31st. Well, Ira's like, we're going to go there on the 26th. I'm like, okay, really? It's like, yeah. I'm like, all right, let's do it then. So we'll be there the entire time. When I covered bowl games in Mississippi, we would just show up 2 days before, like when they had the coaches do the press conference. Like I went to the Orange Bowl, Mississippi State got housed by Georgia Tech, and just like show up 2 days before the bowl game, roll into town, Johnny come lately, parachute in, get a couple interviews, and then some B-roll, and then you're done. But no, we're going to be embedded for like a whole week almost. El Paso, here we come. Drink it in.
Man, that's big time. I bet we're the only outlet sending two. I can tell you that much. So you got to you got to make your money's worth out there, man. I want to see some great. I want y'all to go to the top of one of those hills.
Okay.
That they always show on TV at like halftime of the game. I want some picturesque video from you.
All right. Okay. I'll see what I can do. Again, we are also proudly presented to you by Zaxby's. Indescribably good. Check them out. I had my blackened chicken salad the other day. It was very good. I enjoyed it. It's delicious. I need to keep bulking up. It's wintertime. Need to start putting on the pounds. So maybe I can indulge. Maybe I'll indulge with some fried chicken this time around. The hand-breaded filet chicken sandwiches. So we'll see how we do it. Corey, we're going to talk recruiting later on, courtesy of Michael Langston. A couple things to talk about in terms of Florida State. To the bowl game, I guess. The biggest news that came down on Tuesday, Mike Norvell penned a nice letter to the people of Memphis in which he told them, thank you, sayonara, I have to start working for Florida State. I will not be able to coach you in the Cotton Bowl. To which Florida State fans cheered. Good thing. Thanks, Coach. Good stuff, right? Good news.
Yeah, I mean, it just seems like to me that's almost untenable to do that. Like, I guess you could fly him in for the day of the game and let him coach. But do you want him in the next 3 weeks to try to devise a game plan for a team that he's not coaching anymore, that I assume isn't paying him anymore? I think most of the time, I know Scott Frost did it, but I think most of the time it's smart to just go ahead, cut bait, be done with it, and get on with your new job. It's one game. You don't want to coach one game at the expense of a recruiting class. And it's too important. It's too important at a time to figure out his coaching staff and to figure out this recruiting class to be worried about how to move the ball against. Who are they playing again? I always forget. Penn State.
Correct.
To try to figure out a way to move the ball against Penn State. Go to the game. I think all Florida State fans would be cool if he went to the game, right?
Yeah. But
maybe in Texas anyway, like we said. It's the next day. So stay in Texas, go to the game, say hi to the Penn State special teams coach. Say hi to all your former players and all your former coaches. But, man, no, the next 3 weeks it needs to be devoted solely to Florida State football.
Agreed. Just you have a lot of work ahead of you. You kind of summed it up there nicely. And I would think Memphis fans understand it. It's getting to the bowl game is the fun part. Win or lose, when you're the group of 5 school that gets into that New Year's Six bowl, I'm sure you want to win, obviously, to prove that you belong. But, it's the destination, all that kind of good stuff. So it seems like cooler heads prevailed, or sensible, common sense kind of won the day. So that's quite an encouraging thing. Little bit maybe mildly discouraging. It sounds like Ryan Silverfield, his offensive line coach, is emerging who's currently acting as the interim coach, sounds to be emerging as maybe the front runner for that actual job at Memphis. So that would maybe affect, obviously, putting together a coaching staff. That'd take a little bit of wind out of my sails, because we talked about it on the Monday program, or the Tuesday program rather, that for whatever you're lacking in star power or whatever, familiarity is the most important thing. The coaching chemistry aspect of this, just have everybody, as many guys as you can, on the same page. It's still your offense, but boy, I'm sure if Kendall Browse, for example, were to take the FAU job, I'm sure he would be really bummed out if Randy Clements went elsewhere to be an offensive line coach. I'm sure he would want somebody that was on the same page with him. So that's a developing story took a little bit of wind out of the sails, but I'm not going to Debbie Downer it. It is what it is. Just have to try to find somebody. Can't find the Ole Miss coach.
When it comes to, I agree with what you're saying. In the short term, for next year specifically, you would like an O-line coach that knows what Norvell wants, how this offense is run, that has a relationship with him, and they all have trust. Like the Browse-Clements relationship. That's nice. That's all well and good. But, man, okay, it's not like this guy, I don't believe anyway, this guy is thought of as one of the very best O-line coaches in the country. I don't even know how Memphis's O-line is graded out by PFF. Florida State needs to go find the best guy. And this frees it up. Like, he's not going to be tied to anyone else now. Like, that was his guy. If he's going to stay at Memphis, okay, yeah, I'm sure he's bummed out a little bit. All offensive line coaches should be adaptable. Go get somebody that comes highly recommended, that has a history of recruiting, because, gosh darn it, go get a guy that can recruit offensive linemen. Go get a guy that can get 4- and 5-star O-linemen in here consistently. Somehow, some way. It is Florida State, man. You're recruiting different caliber kids than you are at Memphis or UAB or South Florida, but that's the caliber of guys they brought in here for the last decade about. So maybe this frees it up where you go get some dude that has a ton of connections in the South that can get you some 4- and 5-star O-linemen to get back on top. So, maybe that's silver lining, but I think there's a chance you can make something out of that, and it might end up being a good thing if you can go get a superstar in the offensive line coaching ranks. I know for whatever that's worth. I know there aren't many superstar O-line coaches. I don't know if there are any, but maybe you go get a guy in that community that can go that is highly, highly thought of, that can go get you some guys. Right? Don't you think? It's time, man. It's been too long, Aslan.
No, I'm with you. I don't know how – it's a practical thing you're putting out there. I just don't know how reasonable it is to think that he'd be able to find – like, I don't know how many guys are out there that are considered top 10 kind of offensive line coaches that are amenable to leaving wherever they're at to come down here. I mean, Georgia just replaced – the guy they lost, Sam Pittman, who's now the head football coach at Arkansas. They replaced him with Matt Luke, who was the head football coach at Ole Miss. And he was the offensive line coach for David Cutcliffe a few years in Duke before Hugh Freeze brought him to Ole Miss. So he had pretty good pedigree and seasoning, if you will. I just don't know how many guys are kind of out there that would fit maybe that kind of splashy mold. So for me, it was, all right, yeah, bring your guy in. We're not going to bring the whole band back together. We don't need Ringo on the kit, but let's get, John and Paul and who's the bassist? George Harrison? Right. Got my mind set.
Well, I think Paul was the bassist, actually.
Was
George
he?
Harrison was the guitarist.
Oh, all right. Nice. Check that out.
A little Beatles trivia for. I could be wrong there, but I think Paul was the bassist.
Okay. All right. So, I don't know. I just trying to maybe get out of my usual rut of being the negative skeptical guy and looking at things of, my concerns about, can you do what you did at Memphis? Can you follow your Memphis blueprint in Tallahassee and have it work out to the success that you experienced in the AAC? I'm kind of skeptical about that, but I did see the sort of silver lining with Silverfield of, yeah, man, this is your dude. He knows what you want, and it's just one less thing you kind of have to worry about with him being able to get things organized on the offensive line. I'm sure he knows what Dillingham likes to do, and vice versa as well there. So there's some added built-in synergy there. But yeah, it's not the end of the world by any stretch, and it'll remain to be seen who he gets. But if Jimbo and Rick Trickett, and maybe it was Rick Trickett's fault for being so ornery, but like if those guys, when things are rolling, if they couldn't get 5-star offensive linemen in here, I just don't know like really who can. Maybe just one of these weird kind of curses around Florida State. We're just never going to get that.
That makes sense, though, right?
It doesn't.
It's Florida
No.
State.
It doesn't.
There's places to eat in Tallahassee.
Yeah.
Like, what else are O-linemen looking for? You get for Heisman-winning quarterbacks and NFL players at the skill positions. Theoretically, you're supposed to be really good. Florida State's offense has been really good for 35 years. They've always been able to get O-linemen until the last half decade. It's just been bizarre, or really the last decade. It's just been bizarre. I mean, again, I've talked about it ad nauseum, but Trickett kind of started it because there were a certain number of kids that just wouldn't come because of his style. But he was a very good coach when he had good players. But I think, we look at Clements and Briles. How good was the offensive line this year?
You want like on a
did
number
it take a
scale?
step up?
Not a step. Maybe
a step. On a ladder with 8 steps, it took 1 step up. Yeah. So it wasn't like you got a lot of bang for that buck when it comes to Clements. I don't think. I mean, they were better than Greg Fry's line, but not by much. And he also had Dante Lucas, where Greg Fry didn't have. I think we were what happened in 2018 was so ugly, with Greg Fry trying to marry what he was trying to do to Willie Taggart not having any clue how to run an offense with an offensive line that bad. Not that you should. I mean, nobody has an offensive line that bad, but it wasn't a good marriage. But that doesn't mean that the OC always has to bring his O-line coach with him. I wonder how much that happens. I doubt it happens a ton. Like Jeff Scott's going to South Florida. I doubt he's bringing the Clemson O-line coach with him.
He wasn't the head coach. He's not the head coach, though,
No, I got you. But he was the OC, right? And that's what Norvell is. He's the OC. So, but I don't think Jeff Scott's like, oh, gosh, this is going to be really hard. I mean, he's going to go try to get the best O-line coach he can. That's exactly what this guy needs to do now. I mean, the world is your oyster, man. Go talk to people. He's got to have connections, obviously. Go get somebody that puts together very good offensive lines, and most importantly, can get the guys here. So you're not having to get all these diamonds in the rough. You can get dudes that have NFL potential. Get them. Go get them. And maybe there's a couple on the roster already. I think Dante is one of them. Maybe there's a couple other young guys that have a chance to be really good. But go get somebody that can get guys on campus. Because I don't think Greg Fry's a bad offensive line coach, man. Michigan wouldn't have hired him. And he wouldn't have done what he did at Indiana. That was just a bad fit, and he got fired because they wanted to bring Briles in, and Briles wouldn't come in without Clements. But I don't think I wonder, any chance that Clements would stay?
I would not think so. No, I mean, Briles is going to either go to Ole Miss, I would think, or he's going to get a head coaching job maybe at FAU.
But sometimes it's hard. Maybe. I mean, those are obviously possibilities. But what if those two fall through? There's not a lot of schools, I think, that would tell Kendall Briles what Florida State did. Like, yeah, they might have an offensive line coach they already really like.
Yeah.
It's not every school that can be like, yeah, we'll hire both of you. You're a package deal. That doesn't happen all the time. So, I mean, I think Clements is gone, obviously. I don't think he'll stay, but we know Briles isn't staying. But anyway, I don't even know. What does the Wisconsin O-line coach make, Aslan? Can you look that up?
I can look it up. I was thinking about that the other day. I sent it in the group text. Nobody bid on it. It's going to be pretty bizarre if Kendall does take a job at Ole Miss, for example. Let's say he does take one at FAU. Just how plugged in and dialed in can he be into actually coaching this team for the bowl game? Like, are we going to have George Henshaw out there probably calling plays?
Oh, yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't think I guess, I don't know how long the dead period is after the first signing day, which is next Wednesday. So maybe there's a chance that Briles could be at Florida State for another 2 weeks. It's just odd. It's a really odd thing with all these dead men coaching. They're not going to be here next year. It's just for the second bowl in a row for Florida State. They have to do it with a coaching staff where most of them won't be back.
And they've got a huge recruiting weekend coming up this weekend, like numerous official visitors. Who's gonna I mean, if you're a defensive player, who are you going to talk to other than Odell? I mean, you can't. If you're a cornerback, you're not going to talk to Harlan Barnett. He's gone. If you're a linebacker, you're not going to talk to Raymond Woody. He's gone. If you're a running back, you're not going to really talk to Dante Pimpleton. He's gone. I mean, that's going to be a bizarre thing too. So it goes back to the point of this being good that Norvell's not going to coach in the Cotton Bowl because there's some more nuggets on the Tribal Council. Check it out. Ira's got a pretty nice rundown of some of the comings and goings at the Moore Center right now. But it does sound like Kenny Dillingham is actually in Tallahassee. So that's obviously a good thing to help get this transition kind of jump-started. Google tells me, Corey, that Joe Rudolph, fourth season as Wisconsin's offensive coordinator and line coach, $775,000 he made in 2018.
Well, yeah, that's pretty steep. And he's the OC, too. So maybe you can. And honestly, obviously, you would want the Wisconsin offensive line to come here tomorrow, but you don't know how. It's such a different style of offense.
Here we go. I got a whole bunch of names and numbers for you.
The Norvell offense.
This was from 2019 January, so this is when Greg Fry was still on board. He was the fifth highest offensive line coach last season. Sam Pittman at Georgia, 825. Will Friend at Tennessee, 805. Bill Bedenbaugh, Oklahoma, 750. Joe Rudolph from Wisconsin, 720 G's. And then Greg Fry, $675,000.
But remember, Florida State keeps trying to get by on the cheap.
Yeah.
They don't pay anyone.
What about Herb Hand? Herb Hand's at Texas. I think he's still there. I wonder if did he survive Tom Herman's wrath? I feel like Tom Herman got rid of everybody. He got rid of his OC. I think he got rid of his DC too. Maybe Herb Hand's a guy that's been pretty prolific wherever he's been. So who knows? Who knows?
Hey, there's a lot of possibilities out there, man. I think Florida State can do pretty darn well, and we hope that Norvell has proven that he can adjust to working with different coaches. So if he doesn't have his O-line coach, I think his vision is very clear. I think he's very articulate, and he's just very. You talk when we watched him on Sunday, and then talking to Coburn afterwards, he talked about how clear his vision is and how well he gets his message across. And I think that goes into him having 26 coaches in 3 years, or hire 26 coaches, and them having their best year in year 4. That vision and that message seems to resonate pretty clearly with them. So you hope that him having to break in, quote unquote, a new O-line coach or learn to work with him, it shouldn't be too hard. He's proven he can work with a number of different coaches.
Rick Trickett's out there too, Bring him home.
Yeah. Where's Greg Fry? He's out there.
He's in Florida. He's like an analyst or whatever.
Well, bring him back. Give him another chance.
Yeah, I don't know about all that, though. Anywho, some other things to talk about, Corey. That's about all I got to say on that topic. Did you want to add anything else?
No, I bit my tongue earlier tonight.
Man, you all right?
And it wasn't even good. I'm not going to tell you what place I was eating from, but it wasn't even very good.
Yeah.
But I was eating it like I hadn't eaten in 6 days, and I just bit the tar out of my tongue. And it's hard to talk now because it keeps catching on my, you know what I mean? It's a little swollen now.
I hear you.
So so I apologize if I sound a little funny, but it's a little painful. My teeth keep catching it right in that spot. But you know what, man? I power through.
You do. I mean, Lesser Man would have punted on this show. They'd have said,
you got Langston for you're gonna have Langston talking recruiting. I don't need to do anything at all. But no, I care too much about the people. Hey, by the way, did anybody see you out and about and ask you about the tattoo?
No, I went to the gym and the grocery store and the car wash. Nobody came up to me. Thank goodness.
Literally, I got done walking out of headlines, and I just told Ira and Jeff the story, not on air but off air.
Thank you.
What it said and everything, and I literally walk out of the Seminole Headlines office. Right there in that office park.
Right.
And a guy, and I think his name is Travis, because he introduced himself afterwards. He goes, "Hey, man, what did that tattoo say?" He goes, I literally just got done listening 5 minutes ago, And yeah, here you are. So what did it say? And I told him, and we laughed for 30 seconds.
All right. Okay. Very well. Very well. If I can just, if I can brighten somebody's day, that's all I try to do. I just try to make people's days better. So you're welcome, Travis. You're welcome. Speaking of smiles, your guy, T-Buck, our guy, friend of the program, Terrell Buckley, enshrined Tuesday night, New York City National Football Foundation's College Football Hall of Fame. He is the 7th Florida State player to be enshrined into the College Football Hall of Fame, 9th overall with ties to the program. Can you name 8 out of the 9? I would not expect you, even the great Corey Clark, to name all 9 because I was shocked when I discovered the other one. Can you give me 8 out of the 9? The one clue I'll give you is your other favorite defensive player is not on the list.
I know this is out of left field. Is Mudra in it?
Yeah. Look at you, you crazy son of a gun. Yeah, that's the one
I just remember. What's he in it for?
Just coaching at the Colorado School of Mineral Mines or something ridiculous. Like he won it like a national championship, like Division III or something. I don't know. Yeah.
So for the people that don't know, Mudra is the coach that got fired right before Bobby Bowden. I think his teams won 4 games in 3 years. The program was not in good shape. But he's in the Hall of Fame. So Florida State had 2 straight Hall of Fame coaches. How about that?
Yeah.
Okay, well, Mudra.
There you go.
I would guess Charlie.
Correct.
Obviously T-Buck, so that's 3.
Uh-huh.
Dion.
Correct. 4.
Marvin?
No, I told you he's not in there. That's your
I
other
didn't know if
favorite
that's
defensive player.
I didn't know if that's who you meant. I assume that's who you meant. That's crazy that he's not in there. What is going on with that? Ron Sellers?
Correct. That's 5.
Bolitnikoff?
6.
Ron Simmons?
7.
And so Charlie Ward, Winky's not in there yet. Peter Warwick wouldn't be in there yet. Tamorian Terry? Have they elected him yet, or is that going to be? Well, it'll probably be a few more years.
Yeah. Good position. The strike that you have. That's a
Brooks?
There you go. There we go.
And then Bobby Bowden. Is that it?
There
Did I get them all?
Correct. There you go. And
That
only
is
one
crazy.
strike. And only one strike.
I love Derek Brooks. He is maybe the best outside linebacker in NFL history, one of the top 2 or 3 for sure. He was not a better college football player than Marvin Jones. He just wasn't. Marvin was incredible. It's crazy that he's not in the College Football Hall of Fame. He finished 4th in the Heisman. A linebacker, an inside linebacker, finished 4th in the Heisman. That's crazy. Anyway, so I think they're gonna end up having like 20, right? Like Jameis will be in there. Rashad Green probably should be in there at some point.
Roberto.
Who else? Roberto will be in there. That's not a joke. He was awesome. Is Janikowski not in there?
He is not.
And he was a 2-time Groves Award winner.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy too. All right, well, yeah. So, hey, folks, I know if you have this show's only been around for a couple years, but there really were a lot of good football players in Florida State's history. We haven't gotten to talk about a lot of them, but there really were a lot.
Yeah,
Anybody who do you think of the last 3 years would be Dalvin? Is he the only one that would last 3 or 4 years? Dalvin?
Yeah.
Jalen?
No, I don't know if he. I mean, I know he did. He have All-America honors, like some magazine. I don't know if he was.
I think his junior year he was on a lot of All-American teams.
Yeah. I just don't know if he was prolific in terms of signature plays, moments. I mean, that Miami game he played like a madman in 16, but I don't know how from a national perspective how many people kind of lap that up. So, I mean, Buckley. Let's see here, man. 91 Jim Thorpe Award winner, unanimous first-team All-American, school record.
12 picks, right?
Yeah, led the nation, 12 picks, 238 interception yards. Those are single-season records still at the school. 501 career interception yards is still an NCAA record.
Think about that, man.
Yeah.
501 interception return yards.
That's absurd.
That's nuts. He was one of those guys for real. Like, the ball was just his. If it was up, and now he got burned for some touchdowns because he was very aggressive. but anytime the ball was in the air, it was his. And he would intercept it in the end zone, almost going out of bounds, and he would try to turn around and run with it. Like he was never going to take a knee. Yeah. That guy was just unbelievable, and a really good punt returner too.
I didn't know he played baseball.
He did, yeah.
Says multi-sport athlete, played baseball and ran track for the Seminoles.
He actually played in the Braves farm system. Me and my dad went and saw him play for the Macon Braves.
Oh, nice.
Back sometime in the early 90s. He was not a very good baseball player. He wasn't Dion on the baseball field. Yeah. But, man, he was an incredible college football player. We'll never forget the pick six against Michigan to start that game off against Desmond Howard.
That's right. That is right. I think he mentioned that, but he was asked what his favorite play was, and he's like, man, I made a lot of plays. And the guy interviewing him was like, I hear that a lot. And he's like, what about a favorite game? And he's like, he mentioned Clemson, pick against Clemson, or maybe a punt return against Clemson. But then he mentioned something against Tulane that I don't remember. But he talked about, I think he made a pick six against Tulane, or was it a punt return against Tulane? In Doak?
I know he had an interception against Tulane. Oh, maybe his first year in '89. I don't think he had a punt return for a touchdown against them. I know he had one against Georgia Southern and one against East Carolina in '90.
Of course he did.
Because he had them in back-to-back games.
Okay.
It's crazy, man. There's a pretty good chance I remember more vividly Terrell Buckley's FSU career than Terrell Buckley does.
Absolutely.
Because he's played 500 games. They all run together. But no, I don't. I think he had an interception in the end zone against Tulane in '90, but I don't think he scored a touchdown against them.
Okay, maybe I misheard him, but yeah, he did mention Tulane. I was like, I'm gonna have to talk to Corey about that, see what he thinks about that. So,
but the Michigan game should be it because he had 2 picks. He had one in the end zone. He had the pick six. He also got beat for a touchdown by Desmond. 2 touchdowns actually by Desmond. One was just great coverage. He just made an incredible play. And then he also had a long punt return against Michigan. And they won the game by 20 points. So I'm going to go ahead and answer for T-Buck and say that was his favorite. That was his favorite game.
I'm obviously younger than you. I don't have as much of a breadth of knowledge things historically, but for me, like that Michigan game was the real sort of clincher for Florida State, like truly being like a national force. And they did so many good things before that season, but I felt like am I misremembering that, or was there a lot of sort of public national opinion that kind of maybe started swaying Florida State's way, or Florida State was taken maybe more seriously than they ever had after what they did to Michigan up there?
Well, I mean, they'd already finished in the top 5 the previous 4 years, but that year was their best team at that point anyway, what they thought, and they were playing Michigan at Michigan, who was number 3 in the country. And yeah, the way they did it, like 51 points, they ran a fake field goal for a touchdown to William Floyd. They had a throwback play with Charlie Ward back to Casey Weldon. T-Buck had the pick six. They had an interception return at the end. They missed 4 extra points in that game. Florida State did, which was a harbinger of things to come that year with the kicking. But no, I think just because of the stage it was on and where it was, they'd only played Michigan once before, I think, and that was '86, and they lost Jim Harbaugh was the quarterback. But to do it on that stage and to just beat the bejesus out of them and to do it the way they did it, talking trash, ripping up the field after the game, I just thought it was you're right. I don't know if it put them on the national stage maybe, but I think everybody in the country watched that game. And there were a lot of 15-year-olds in the country, man, that saw the way T-Buck acted and saw the way Marvin Jones and Kirk Carruthers and Casey Weldon and Amp Lee putting on a show, man. He made a couple of ridiculous runs in that game where there are a lot of 15-year-olds around the Southeast and around the country. It's like, that's where I'm going to school. Yeah. And it just Amp Lee begets, Warwick Dunn begets Travis Minor. Like, it just goes on and on but that game, yeah, I think you could point to that game as one that was like a seminal moment in the birth of what would you call the endurance of the dynasty. All right, that really helped it because it fed the program for the next 3 or 4 years.
Yeah, I think maybe
and
one
if they
of those,
had a kicker.
Yeah, right. They did have a kicker. I was thinking maybe that's one of those moments where that kind of proved that this was not a flash in the pan. Although 4 years isn't a flash in the pan, but I think there's probably people that were hoping Clemson was going to go away after 4 years, and they've endured. So maybe that Michigan
That is not a flash in the pan.
It is not.
Clemson.
It is not. Speaking of, I guess, to a little bit of degree, ESPN's doing this whole 150-year celebration of the greatest sport in the history of mankind, college football. They've released the 150 greatest coaches of all time. 9 active coaches on the list.
Where's Mudra?
Mudra's not on. I don't think he's on this one. I do not think he's on this one.
All right.
It's not a very web-friendly sort of list, although I'm typing. He is. No, he's there. 114th. 114th.
That's my dog, man.
Yeah.
That's my dog. All Florida State does is hire Hall of Fame coaches.
He won the Division II national title at North Dakota State in 65 and Eastern Illinois in 78. So.
Oh, all right. Well, that's something.
Good for Moods. Good for Moods. So, 9
Where's
active
Bobby?
coaches. Bobby, I mean, who cares about that? We got to talk about my boy Jimbo is on this list. I mean, the absolute egregious nature. 8th. Bobby Bowden is 8th on the list. And you're not going to like who's number 7.
Who?
Steve Spurrier. No,
Come
I'm
on.
kidding. But Joe Paterno. In all honesty, Joe Paterno, they ranked ahead of Bobby. Paterno 7, Bobby 8. 6th, Bud Wilkinson from Oklahoma. 5, the great Eddie Robinson. 4, Tom Osborne. 3, Knute Rockne. 2, Nick Saban. Number 1, Paul Bear Bryant. So.
Yeah, I guess you can't really argue with that. I don't know if I'd put – I know Bud Wilkinson did a lot of great things, but you know my feelings on people that coached pre-integration. Mm-hmm. Didn't count. Doesn't count for me. Bear Bryant was a part of some of that. But, yeah, I would put Saban number 1 because of just how different college football is now and that his teams are always in the top 10. They're just always really good. Where was Dabo?
Dabo, 31. That
Come
feels
on, man.
prisoner of the moment. That feels very prisoner of the moment.
What do you mean? He's got 2 – doesn't he have 2 titles?
Yeah. But dang,
So you
man.
think he should be higher? You think he should be lower than 31?
I don't. Bob Stoops is 29th. Probably put Dabo ahead of Bob Stoops.
Yeah, absolutely. Because Clemson ain't slowing down, man. Have you looked at their recruiting class?
I try not to make my day any worse than it needs to be.
They've got the number 1 and the number 2 player in the country coming. The number 1 player is a defensive tackle from, I don't know, they probably built him in a lab. And number 2 is a quarterback. So, cool. Trevor Lawrence is going to leave, and then they're going to have the best quarterback in the class as their quarterback taking over for Trevor Lawrence in 2021.
Yeah.
Man, and where was Jimbo, by the way?
110th.
Okay. Hey, you know.
What do you mean, okay? What do you mean, okay? 110? Ruined my day.
I mean, yeah.
I'm not that upset about it.
He's one of the 9 active coaches.
Yeah. Brian
What
Kelly's,
active coaches is he behind?
Brian Kelly. I mean, I know Brian
What?
Kelly.
Is he really?
Brian Kelly won like 3 or 4 national titles, I think, at Grand Valley State or wherever he was before he went to Cincinnati.
Oh, then never mind. If you can win at Grand Valley State. Then.
Right. Lance Leopold, who I think won a couple Division II national titles and then ended up at the University of Buffalo, and I don't think he's really done a lot at the University of Buffalo. I should pull that one up a little bit, do some research. But yeah, Gary Patterson is ahead of him. Mac Brown is ahead of him. Chris Peterson, 58th. 58th, Chris Peterson. Never won a national title. 58th.
Well, you know.
Oh, I did at
He was at Boise State. It's hard to win national titles there. Like, would you say the coach at Gonzaga in basketball is one of the top 10 coaches in America?
Currently?
Yeah.
Probably. Yeah, probably.
Yeah, he hadn't won a national title. I mean, what he's done at Gonzaga is incredible. Gonzaga, man.
Yeah, but
Nobody knew what Gonzaga was 20 years ago. Literally, it was just John Stockton's alma mater. I didn't know where it was. I didn't know what state it was in. Some people listening to this might still not know what state it is.
I mean, Bill Snyder.
And they're always in the top 10.
Bill Snyder, 55, Corey. Come on.
So it's just longevity. Like, Jimbo's only been doing it for 10 years.
I guess. Yeah.
And he didn't. You know, when you look at, that's what bothers me, man. When you look, when I was just looking at the Rivals 100 the other day about just recruiting, I bit my tongue again. That felt awesome.
Sorry, we're wrapping it up.
Man, it's my fault. I'm such an idiot. When you looked at what Clemson's class looks like coming in and how they – I just don't understand because we all know Jimbo came in as a good recruiter and was a very good recruiter while he was here. And Florida State was the brand. It was the program in the country. Just to wonder what happened. Mm-hmm. Like, why didn't they go get the number one quarterback in the country every time they wanted a quarterback? Was it just as simple as Malik Henry? Like, did that throw the whole cycle off? And it's never going to get it just couldn't come back?
Well, no, because you had nothing in place for 15. I mean, you had to get Everett Golson.
Well, but that's fine. That one, you can take a 1 year height. I mean, I really do think they thought Jameis would stay for. Jimbo was certain. I talked to him off the record. He was certain that Jameis was coming back
in 15.
Which is a little foolish, but that's fine. He had a 1 year gap where he had McGuire and then he had Golson come in, but then 16 should have been set up for another run at it. Much like the year that Clemson had to use Kelly Bryant.
Yeah.
Because Deshaun left early. But Clemson's went from Deshaun to Trevor Lawrence, and now they've got the number one quarterback in the country again coming in.
And I think they got a 5-star last year, the Fomachan, some guy that's got, like 16 letters in his last name. He came in mop-up duty and led the ball down the field against Florida State.
Yeah, that's right. They got that dude too.
Yeah.
So I think when you look back on where it started to go wrong, Florida State just did not utilize their place in the college football world as well as you would have wanted them to. Because they should have been off and running after 13 and 14. Really 12, 13, and 14. But it's just odd that his two best recruiting classes were 11 and 12. But after they won the championship, they weren't nearly as good. So just odd. But anyway, we don't need to talk about the past. It's just a bummer to see what Clemson's doing. Like, golly, again they have the number one quarterback in the country.
Mark Richt's on this list, 136th.
Is he ahead of Jimbo?
No. Jimbo's 110. Les Miles is 140. He's the only guy that Jimbo's ahead of that's an active coach.
How do you have Tom Osborne ahead of Bobby Bowden? What could be the possible rationale there? Didn't win as many
Nebraska,
games.
It's difficult. It's more difficult out there.
No, not back then. It wasn't.
I know.
Back then it was a juggernaut.
People getting all crazy. In his last 5 seasons, Nebraska won 3 national championships, lost the 4th on the last play of the game, and had a win-loss record of 60-3. Maybe because he did go out on top.
Didn't play nobody.
He ain't playing nobody.
Yeah, he did.
Paul.
That's right. He did leave after 97, didn't he?
Yeah, he went out on top. So I do wonder, like, how much. I mean, obviously, Bobby, if he would have left after 2001 or 2, I wonder if he would have been thought about in more higher regard than he is currently, because the next 6 seasons really, I don't think, did a lot to preserve or elevate his standing. I mean, he kept piling up, 70 more wins, which helps the overall record. But maybe if he goes out on top-ish, kind of, maybe he's thought of a little bit higher. But no regrets.
Maybe,
no regrets.
Yeah, it doesn't matter. It's fine. He was very, very good, and Florida State was lucky to have him.
He's ahead of Woody Hayes, Frank Leahy, Pop Warner, John McKay's ahead of Barry Switzer, ahead of Ara Parsegan. So, yeah, man. 8th. That's good.
All right. Hey, those are good names.
Bo Schembechler, Bobby Dodd, ahead of all those guys. Lou Holtz. Your boy Vince Dooley's 24th. Can you believe that?
Yeah,
really?
Well, he did win the one. One of these days, Mike Norvell will be there.
He will.
I truly believe it, Aslan.
All right.
When we're doing this show in 10 years, we're going to be complaining that Mike Norvell's only like 61st on the list.
Put him ahead of Dabo. What the hell?
Yeah, he's got more he'll have 4 national championships by then, or 3 probably. Man, wouldn't it be cool if Florida State got really darn good again, like awesome again, to challenge Clemson?
Yeah. Like Dynasty would be pretty cool.
Think about that rivalry, what it would be, what it should be. With Clemson where it is now, if Florida State could have held its water up near the top, it would be the best rivalry in college football right now.
What do you think is more likely? Florida State wins 3 national titles in the next 25 years, or they don't win any? Don't answer that. That's dark. That's it for you, Corey, and me to a certain extent. We'll have Michael Langston talk about recruiting right after this. Second half of the show is brought to you by Birch Orthodontics. For nearly 20 years, Birch Orthodontics has been providing world-class orthodontic care right here in Tallahassee, and they've been doing it with the kind of down-home customer service that keeps all of their clients smiling. Whether you or your loved one needs braces or Invisalign treatments, Dr. Heather Birch and her staff are trained in all of the latest techniques. And the best part is, they'll include you in every step of the decision-making process. They'll work with you to craft the perfect treatment plan and payment options to suit your needs. So if you're looking for family-friendly orthodontic care in a comfortable, stress-free environment, Birch Orthodontics isn't just your best choice, it's your only choice. Visit www.birchorthodontics.com. That's BURCH orthodontics.com for more information and to set up your free consultation today. Or you can call the office directly at 850-877-1692. 850-877-1692. Welcome back. It's Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's. I'm Aslan. Let's go ahead and bring in Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for Warchant.com. Not giving us nuggets today, sounds like. He's going to give us fingers and Zax sauce. I'm on the edge of my seat, so I call Michael to obviously plug him in here. Hello, by the way, Michael. And
hello, man.
As I'm getting Michael set up, he's like, I got some good stuff for you. It's gonna shock you. Go ahead. The floor is all yours, Michael. What's going on, man?
Well, I'll just jump right to it. I am not expecting Jeff Sims to come to FSU.
Oh. I thought I was supposed to like what you were going to tell me.
I didn't think it was good news. I just said it was significant stuff. But
okay.
I got the feeling, the vibe I got, some people I talked to around the in-home visit, that I don't get the impression that Norvell feels Sims is like a great fit for their offense.
Okay. Well.
And that's kind of the feel I get right now.
Well, that's a bummer. Son of a gun.
Yeah, I do think they're going to push pretty hard for I do think they really like the Cade Renfro kid. I think there's another kid, I forget his name. He's a Lakeland quarterback. I'll forget his name, but I think it's like Chai Garnett. He's actually committed to Auburn. He's really connected with the new OC they just hired. Okay. So I think he's a guy that I think I can see FSU pushing towards, and I think FSU's probably going to take like 2 or 3 quarterbacks in this class. So they're going to get 2 or 3 guys, but. Just wanted to jump right in and say, like, I just do not feel that he will be a part of this class.
Well,
with Jeff Sims. But
I
just wanted to jump right in.
We're not the spring tour is over, Michael. No more spring tour. When you and I get together and go visit campuses, nothing good seems to come about it. The jinx continues.
Yeah. So, yeah, I don't envision him being in this class. I haven't even, we're obviously taping this, Aslan, but I haven't even thrown down the board yet. So that'll be fun. But,
oh yeah, let me know. Shoot me a text before you do it. I want to grab my popcorn and everything and see the reaction. But I mean, to your point though, I guess it comes down to it. I mean, they obviously need to sign a prep quarterback. I mean, they've gone 2 years without doing it, but just because it's not Jeff Sims doesn't mean it won't happen. And maybe at the end of the day, it's the best thing for both parties. You got to find the right fit. I think everything's about fit.
Well, I think it just speaks to what I've heard about Norvell from people that I know that know him very well. Is he's a straight shooter. He's very genuine. The thing is, he doesn't want, I don't think, to put Jeff in a bad position, and I don't think he wants to put himself in a bad position where he takes a guy that possibly doesn't fit his system. So I think that's it kind of falls into what I've heard about how he is, that he's a very direct person.
All right. I follow, man.
And so I think that's kind of the deal. And I know there's going to be some people bummed, but at the same time, when you think about it, at Memphis, they didn't really run their quarterbacks a lot.
Yeah, they
if
didn't.
if you watch it, they did a lot of. They used them as threats, but they didn't really run them. So, and that's what Jeff does the best. Is Jeff's a very good runner. So, now Jeff's got an incredible arm too. But I think at the end of the day, you have to have a guy that fits everything you want. And I think it's a benefit for not only Jeff but also, Mike Norvell when having the right guys in place and having Jeff in the right place for where he needs to be.
Go ahead. I didn't mean to interrupt you. Go ahead.
I was just going to say, my guess is he'll probably end up at Georgia Tech. That would be my guess.
Okay. I mean, I'm looking at film right now of the young man from Lakeland, Garnett. Chale, maybe Chale is how you pronounce his first name.
Yeah.
6'2", 205 pound. List him as a dual threat committed to Auburn. He's moving around the pocket, man. He's buying time and he's scrambling and he's making big plays with his legs. Maybe it could be something as simple as if there is room for one of those quarterbacks for Norvell, maybe he and Dillingham just simply kind of evaluate Garnett on a different level than Rivals does with Garnett versus Sims.
Like, I want to put that. I do not know that they're going to go after him. I have no idea if they're going to go after this kid. I'm linking him because Dillingham has a relationship with him. Most OCs and quarterbacks coaches have a big impact in those kind of kids. Now, he might not be a kid they go after. I do know they're going to push for the Renfro kid that just visited over the weekend. And I think they're probably going to sign a grad transfer. And then I also think they'll sign another quarterback, whether it be high school or, JUCO. But I do think the plan for them is to get 2 or 3 guys.
How do you feel about Renfro? Felt like the sort of tie that binded him was Kendall Browse, and Kendall Browse won't be here. How does that kind of affect your belief on him maybe being a Florida State Seminole?
I don't know. It's kind of interesting because he does have ties with Browse, but, Norvell's from Texas too. So, he has Texas ties as well there. And I don't know how much of a relationship he has with there. I know they're going to push hard for him. And who knows if Lane actually wants, say Browse does end up at Ole Miss like we think. Who's to say that, Lane's sold on that kid? Maybe that kid doesn't fit for what they want. And I think that's really going to determine, this thing is just how much Ole Miss actually pushes for Renfro. I just don't know. I just have a feeling that they're going to push for Renfro based on the stuff I've gotten, this evening.
All right. Well, let's turn to other matters. Defensive line is probably a little bit of a concern. I think offensive line is a little bit of a concern. But I guess rather than go maybe in depth or specifically to those things, just what has Mike Norvell been doing the last 48 hours to your understanding, at least when it comes to recruiting, Michael? I see all these threads about he's been spotted here, he's been spotted there. He's wasting no time, sounds like.
Yeah, he's out of a lot of places, and I think everything has been very, very positive as far as how the recruits feel about it. He's very energized. He's been a little bit of everywhere. I think Tuesday he's going to be have a big visit with Brian Robinson. That's a big one. I think what they want to do on that is set up the official visit, and I think Brian's leaning towards canceling that Alabama visit and visiting FSU. So I'm confident. I have some confidence that Brian will be on campus this weekend. So I think he's visiting him. He's also visiting Palmetto receiver Kentron Portier. He's also visiting him. Dugans likes him a lot. I think that's a guy he likes. And Marcus Fleming, who officially visited over the weekend, that's another guy he's going to see. Sprinkled in with some commitments over there. I would imagine he's going to see Lloyd Willis over there in the Miami area. He's committed to FSU. So he's been a little bit all over the place. I think this was his first visit to South Florida, so I think that's what he's doing mainly today, is hitting up the South Florida area. But certainly the first day he hit the Big Bend. We know he went to see Keyshawn Green. He went to see Jeff Sims, as we alluded to, and certainly went to see Zane, who shut things down right after he met with him. So that's kind of what he's been doing. I do think, from what I hear, that he's going to be in Polk County on Thursday. And I think you're going to make a run at Morven Joseph and see how that goes. Right now, FSU's sitting on the outside. I think it's Florida-Tennessee battle. But FSU's going to make a run there. And then I also think they'll visit with defensive back Kendall Dennis, who's a 4-star DB. Loves FSU. He's liked them for a while. One of his closest friends is Brennan Gant, who is one of the spring tour guys that we actually got right.
That's right. That's right. Good point.
But,
good point.
He's. I think they're likely to go see him.
All right. Right on.
And then the other big news that I reported recently on Tuesday was it's looking like there's a good chance that you could see Josh Griffiths back in this class. Norvell's going to see him on a Wednesday. I think the big shift in that was Odell being announced that he's staying. Josh has always told me that if Odell's there, he's likely going to be there, because Odell's a big part of his recruitment. So I think once that happened, things started to shift again with Josh Griffiths, and I think there's a good chance he'll officially visit this weekend. And I think if that happens, which I think it will, I think he'll be back in this class for the Seminoles.
Michael Langston recruiting.
Fun,
yeah, man. Yeah, I was just trying to reset us there. Michael Langston, recruiting analyst for Warchant.com, joining us here on Wake Up Warchant. Real quick before we move forward, just in terms of guys that he's visiting and places he's been, Emmanuel Dumerville from St. Thomas Aquinas, who's a 4-star defensive lineman that's uncommitted. Is that a guy that you heard anything about before Norvell jumped on board here?
Yeah, they have been trying to get him on campus, Marcus Dumerville. Okay. He's been linked to LSU, and Florida have been the main teams. LSU seemingly the bigger competition, because I think LSU feels the best about him. I think they went in there as well on Tuesday, swinging, see what can happen, see if they can get him on campus. I don't know a lot of connections that Norvell would have with him, or the potential staff members that he's bringing in have connections. I don't know those connections there, but it's not surprising. I mean, he's swinging, and he's going out of every guy he can get that's a top player. He's gonna go after, and I think certainly the goal. We'll have to wait and see what I find out from that visit, is probably to get Marcus on campus this weekend. And if they can pull that off, that's highly impressive, and it puts them in the ball game. But that's kind of what I'm kind of going to check on with Marcus, to see if they did enough to convince him to give him a look.
How big is this weekend going to be? I mean, it sounds like there's – I mean, I don't want to say all in, but it sounds like he's trying to bring in as many dudes on official visits as humanly possible, it feels like.
Yeah, it is. And right now we're looking at, based on what I have so far, we're looking at 17 official visitors. Yeah. Yeah, 17 official visitors, and it could grow to 20. You just don't know who he could bring in, or with all these visits they're doing with different kids, you don't know what kids they could sneak in unofficially or whatnot. So it's going to be a busy weekend at Florida State. But right now, that's kind of what I'm sitting. The uncommitted guys that I think would come in, Jeffrey Imba, defensive tackle. He's a defensive tackle Odell's been on for a while. He's supposed to be coming in. Running back Dejon Edwards, he's supposed to be there as well. And then I mentioned Brian Robinson, he's likely. And then I'm probably going to add Josh Griffiths to the list soon. So I think those are some of the main uncommitted guys at this point. But I could be adding more later. I mean, this thing's going to be a massive weekend.
Man, how do you – I mean, I guess this might be rhetorical more than anything, but how can you host that many guys when you don't even have a full staff right now? I mean, he's going through transition. I mean, maybe Dillingham will be here to kind of help out, but I know Dell obviously is sticking around. Everybody else is going to be as much of a pro as they possibly can, but I do wonder, like, how how sold out could Raymond Woody be in trying to talk to a kid or Dante Pimpleton or something like that. That's going to be kind of an interesting thing. But 12 guys, man, why not, right? What's the worst that could happen? You're going to get a couple commitments.
Well, I mean, from what I've gotten, a lot of the support staff that was from the old support staff, I think they will not have jobs soon, if I had to guess.
Right.
So he might already have his guys in place coming into the weekend. That he might have his new whatever support staff he's going to have lined in place, and those people play a big role in when you're talking about 17 official visitors or more. So I'm sure he has a plan already of who's going to handle what. These things are very detailed and organized, and we've already seen this guy is very, organized. That's the main thing I've heard with him. Very sharp, very organized. So I think that's kind of what we're looking at. But I think he has a plan, and it's not easy. But at the same time, I think he'll get plenty of time with Pacific people and these coaches that are possibly not going to have jobs, like you mentioned Woody and and these other Harlan Barnett and these guys.
Yeah.
But they also have a job to do, and they're basically doing their job for the next. It's basically an audition for their next job. So I think they're going to be professional and do their jobs, and it's not exactly a perfect situation because it's an awkward situation to a degree, but I think the kids will spend the most time with guys that are definitely going to be there.
And then just last, before I let you go, I mean, you kind of mentioned a little bit, but just in who you've talked to, whether it's been parents or high school coaches or these recruits themselves, what kind of seems to be maybe a common theme or the prevailing thought about Mike Norvell thus far?
Very positive. It's probably the most, even when Jimbo was there, it's probably the most high school coaches I've had call me, tell me how excited they are about this hire. Either they have relationships with him, they've talked to him before about their previous kids, or they know what he does and what he's like. And there's been a very positive uprising from what I've heard between families and recruits and also just people in general, especially with high school coaches. It's been extremely positive, which shocked me because I would have thought that was the people that really needed to be the convincing because he hasn't recruited Florida that much. But apparently these guys know a lot about him, and basically the reflection I'm getting is it's been very positive.
Right on. All right, folks, we'll check out the premium recruiting board for the absolute latest, most in-depth breakdowns on Florida State recruiting. Use the promo code SAVE50FSU. I still think it's going on. Michael's got everything you need to know over on the premium recruiting board. For Michael and Corey, I'm Azov. Thanks for listening to Wake Up Warchant presented by Zaxby's.